Okay, it is 5 o'clock by my watch, and I am going to call to order the Monday, July 17th meeting of the Utility Service Board. We do have an amendment to the agenda.
I'd like to move that we item 13, petitions and communications, to the top of the agenda.
There's a motion on the table to, Jim?
I'll second the
All right,
motion.
so there's a motion on the table to move the petitions and communications from individuals to the beginning of our agenda. There's a second?
Second.
Although, this would do would allow, we understand there's a individual has something that they'd like to bring to the board so that you do not have to sit through the entire board meeting. You can come and do your presentation first, so if that's okay with you guys, we'll vote on that. Is there a, all those in favor of amending the agenda say aye? Yes.
Could I suggest that we also do it at the end, because there may be people who tune in expecting it to be at the end,
Oh.
just in case there are.
The motion would be is to amend the agenda to add a petition at the beginning, but keep petitions and communications at the end as well.
Okay,
All right,
very
so
good.
I move that we add petition at the beginning, while keeping item 13, petitions and communications at the, as it is as well.
I'll second.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor, oh, sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. We'll have you folks come up to the, if you'll come up to the podium first. Yeah. What we just did is we simply amended our agenda so that you didn't have to sit through the entire board meeting. And since you had provided us with information in advance.
Okay.
We knew that you would be here, and so we wanted to give you the opportunity to take care of this, and then you can go and we'll do our general meeting.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Okay.
I brought a few things real quick. I don't
And
know
if
if
you
it's
could just
okay.
state if you could just state your name.
Oh yeah, I'm Eric Kamen, Brian Rental Inc.
My name is Mi Jung Kim.
Okay. Am I allowed to present anything to you guys? Okay, cool. I don't know who. We can kind of just go in the middle. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's great. Okay. So Mrs. Kim and her family, they operate the Korea restaurant on 4th Street, and they are not from United States of America. They don't speak English. This is not their first language, so it just kind of is what it is. So I guess what happened was we had a water line break in our basement. Our basement was flooded, and their water bill went up astronomically. If you could please turn to the back section. In February, their bill was $247. In March, $247. $315 in April of this year, and then we had a water line break. In May, went to $645. June, $2,832, and then we fixed the water line break, and now it went down to from over $2,000 or $2,800 down to $1,415. So clearly, their average bill was somewhere around the vicinity of like $247 to $315. That was pretty typical use of the building. They had this water line break, and the city of Bloomington said they put some kind of a notice on their front door. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think they would have recognized what that was or been able to read it. And it doesn't seem exactly fair for somebody who works very hard, is not from this country, and I think 4th Street got noticed on Forbes for being this diversity and culturally significant street full of restaurants that have, authentic food. And it just doesn't seem right for somebody that doesn't speak English, who contributes a lot to the local community, and, has a great service, is part of our community, and there was a water line break. They didn't know what they were receiving on their door, and we got denied from the city of Bloomington utilities, and I'm just not exactly sure if the goal here was, I don't think their goal here was that they intentionally didn't do anything about it. I think they just clearly didn't know anything about it. So when the city of Bloomington did inform them about this water line issue, I just don't think they knew exactly what was going on. I just don't think there's any chance. So if you all could please reconsider, lowering their bill for, or at least giving some kind of a credit, it would be very, very much appreciated. And I think going forward, we all learned a lesson here. And, they have their daughter that is their translator, and she does not live here, but she takes all the calls and does all of the, English speaking for them. And, hopefully, this is just a one and done thing. And I think we've all learned our lesson, and we just hope we can all reconsider here.
Recap this. So it wasn't until, and thank you very much for providing the bills for us.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until May that they saw a doubling in the amount.
Correct.
And then the June, it significantly increased to almost $3,000.
That's right.
Okay.
And it came from a water line break in our basement, which we do not exactly go into that basement. It's an unfinished basement. Nobody really goes down there. There's a toilet. As soon as we found out about this, we came and immediately, took out. I mean, we fixed the problem. We capped the water line, so this won't even be an issue going forward. But it definitely was an issue, and we did repair it immediately. And there is a bill that we show on there showing that we did repair it.
I also know that we have been provided with information from CBU of documentation of the communications that were provided to the business. You mentioned the placard noting the high water usage, which was delivered on May 3rd, I think. Is that correct? I believe that's when that was delivered. And yet it was still persisted through June 14th.
Yeah, I'm not sure what date it was given, and I honestly think they probably saw some notice on their door and just something that was on their door and probably just threw it away and probably didn't think anything of it because they wouldn't be able to read it anyways.
Are there any other questions?
Typically,
Jim?
typically our notifications simply put on the door, or does it come through post office? Is there anything they would receive through the postal service that would notify them of the problem?
Hang tag when
And
these
the,
happen.
and the online checking is available if people hook up to it.
Yep.
Are they aware of the online capabilities of monitoring water usage?
I think they are now, yes.
Okay, so they weren't using that service before.
No, I mean, their bill has been
Right.
unbelievably consistent until,
Yeah.
they saw an explosion of their bill, and all of a sudden, I got involved and we remediated the problem. And I have no doubt the city of Bloomington gave them notice. I'm not here to just dispute that. What I'm disputing is that it just doesn't seem like the best way for an international tenant or restaurant to be able to be informed. And they are unbelievably punished because of it. So that's...
Do those email notices come only to people who are hooked into the thing, or, because I get email notices all the time in the summer when we use more water. So,
Portal, you can get,
Only for
you'll
the
get those
portal.
then, yeah. So typically we're with sewer bills, we can waive a portion if the water did not go to the sewer, but it was explained to us that the water largely went to a floor drain that ultimately goes to sewer. So we didn't have discretion really to make that change. And we never do refunds for water unless the board approves it. So our circumstance was that that there wasn't any justification under the normal rules for us to waive anything on this one.
Any board precedent on these type of cases?
We do adjustments all the time for sewer when you have a situation where, for example, you have a water line that's in your yard and it leaks. And so it's clearly not going to the sewer, it's just going into the soil.
Right.
But for the water portion of the bill, we're really restricted on what we can do under our rules.
Like administrative rules.
Yeah, it's both it's the way, the practice that we have is that, and Chris can talk about the legal aspects of it, but it's under our rules, the board has jurisdiction over the water bill. We do these all the time, but staff never approves a water refund. We have done sewer adjustments in the cases where the leakage did not go to the sewer. So, but if your toilet's running, for example, if you have a toilet running all the time, we don't adjust that because that water all goes to the sewer. The water is we don't make money on anything that we do, so the cost of the water is, we charge what it costs us to deliver the water. And we charge what it costs us to collect and treat the sewer water. So if the board wants to make an adjustment, that's entirely up to the board, but that's really outside staff jurisdiction.
My memory is that we've had several of these cases where people have come in, and if it was appropriate, we would adjust the sewer side, but not the water side. And we've had cases where people had no way of knowing because they left for Christmas break. No one was there. Even if there was a notice on the door, they wouldn't have found it. And in those cases, we did not adjust the water portion or if it was a toilet running the whole thing, so.
The water, I don't think they're only asking for an adjustment of the sewer.
We'll take what we could get.
I mean, that's what's on the cover page.
Side of that, we did treat it as wastewater, as opposed to a lateral breakage in the yard where we wouldn't have treated the wastewater.
Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. I'm crunching numbers here, so my apologies. Chris.
Hi, Chris Wheeler with City Legal, Assistant City Attorney. Just as a reminder for the board, the way the law works with regards to unusually high or unusually low bills, when you look at our rules and regulations, we have modeled the way that we would look at the adjustment of water and wastewater bills based upon how the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission has put together its policies. We're not regulated under this particular section by the IURC under either water or wastewater, but they have put forth actual administrative code policies on how they would like to see utilities handle these sorts of situations. And many years before I ever showed up to be the utilities attorney, the policies and procedures put forth by this board model the IURC. And so when you look at the IURC at 170 IAC 6-1-14, you find adjustment of bills, and it reads the same as what our policies are, which is basically to look at whether the meter was operating correctly on the water side. If the water meter is not working correctly, then certainly we should do something to correct that bill. But if the water meter properly has read the amount of water going through and being used, it's not the utility or this board's job to try and figure out what the water was used for, whether they used it to fill up a pool, whether they used it for cooking or cleaning, whether they used it just to pour it down their toilet because of a leaky toilet. We don't ask that question. We just look at whether the water was used. And in those situations where there hasn't been any identification of an error on the meter side, that the meter itself is reading incorrectly, we have historically not corrected the water bill. Where you can get some relief then is what we were talking about, is on the wastewater side. If you can show that the wastewater, that the water that was used because of leak or toilet running somehow did not enter into the stormwater system to then get treated, we would be in a position to adjust the bill. I don't hear that here. So our policies as a utility department are that the bill does not get adjusted. If this board wishes to make an adjustment, I would caution it to be certain that it's not doing things arbitrarily so that somebody could then complain later that they didn't get their bill adjusted, that we're not doing it somehow capriciously, that we're doing it even-handedly across the board. But my recollection is, as Jim has just stated, at least as long as I've been the attorney for this board, is that we haven't made adjustments in these situations. It's a shame, but we do it across the board, and sometimes you get some pretty harsh results.
Chris, is there? If, I'm assuming we have to vote on this, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and then my other question is there any further action that can be taken?
Any decision that's made by this board can be appealed if they would like a trial court to review it. I've known some water adjustment issues that have been taken to the IORC, who's had an opportunity to review as well. And in those situations have asked for the city to weigh in and provide its side of why it did not make the adjustment. Historically, anytime that's happened, to my recollection, the IORC decided that it wasn't going to weigh in. It doesn't have any jurisdiction.
But we can provide a payment schedule that
There
makes
can
it
be
easier.
relief done in that way so that that the payments aren't just, there's not a default issue, they're not falling behind on their bill. We can work out an arrangement that way, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Do you have anything else that you?
The only thing I could say is our basement was totally flooded, and we do have sub pumps down in our basement, so I'm not going to say it all went down the sewer, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that not most of it did, because that would be lying. So I would like to say that, some of it did. Yep.
Are the sump pumps connected to the sanitary sewer, or do they go outdoors?
It's a good question.
If they're connected to the sanitary sewer, then we treated it. If they went,
Hey, can you speak up?
sorry, I had a frog in my throat. If the sump pumps discharge to the sanitary sewer, then it's just like going down the toilet. If the sump pumps discharge to the stormwater infrastructure outdoors, then the water from the sump pumps would not have gone to the sanitary sewer. So in that case, we did have one of those once where I think the people came to the board and the board made some sort of based on an estimate of how much went each place. In this case, we've made no estimate because it was our understanding that everything ended up in the sewer. But you know, the board could make a decision based on some assumption of what went to the sewer and what didn't. So I don't know how that, the board has done that once before that I recall.
It would be good to check that.
Yeah, no, I
right,
did. It
Before we
was a
make a
san-
final decision.
It was a sanitary sewer. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Oh, you're right.
So is, I have a motion for anything?
That we not make any adjustment to the bills, but we offer them a payment schedule that would help them with their payment.
All those in favor say aye.
Discussion just for a minute.
Oh, a discussion.
Jim, that's a good point with the payment plan. And what's our practice on how far we can extend that out?
As long as you want it to be. Under normal circumstances, if people are just behind in general, we usually give them a couple months.
Like
We-
2 months or?
Yeah.
We need to go out a little further on this.
No, for this situation, absolutely, yes.
And do we charge interest?
No, we do not.
Okay, that's good.
All right,
So
so-
I'm hearing you're flexible on
Absolutely. Yeah.
on a payment plan.
We have,
This is an unfortunate situation that we're all sympathetic to. One of these things that happen to any of us, just as Jim said, we could be gone on vacation and come back and find, you know, the shower draining into the first floor from the second floor. We're gone for a week and we've run up a $2,000 water bill, but we had a great time in Florida.
Vacation, so it'd be a heck of a trip, I guess.
Right, but it's the same amount of money. And frankly, in this case, there's a little wider time to have found the error or the malfunction. But what I don't think anybody here wants to do, what I certainly don't want to do, is unfairly penalize a business that's trying to do well and just had a bad situation here. So our administrative folks are going to work as best we can, I think, with this to spread out the payments to make it work best. But you can kind of see where we are on this. This would set a precedent for us that would be difficult because we have this sort of situation in other cases. This is a little unusual, but the end state's about the same for us when you look at what may come to us next.
So there is a motion on the table right now, so, and there is a second. So I do need to either call, are we at?
I thought you were in discussion now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so, yeah, you can do all that, but after this
Okay.
full discussion.
Okay.
And I know I'm not a voting member, and I do apologize for being late. I might have missed something. But has there been any discussion on possible assistance for this situation or for this business? And I don't know where that would come from, but has that been part of the conversation? Not so much on the city side, but any opportunity for assistance to help with this that's been discussed at all? Or is there no such thing?
This is a situation where it's a business.
No, I understand all that.
So our customer assistance program is
I
for-
get all that,
yeah,
for their
yeah.
customers, and I know our policies. I don't have any discussion or problem with any of that. It's just sometimes it's pretty harsh. I mean, it's just inflexible. Now, that's all I was asking. Has there been any other opportunities to provide some flexibility for our business or this situation? It's just a question. If there hasn't been, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I just was late, and I just want to hear that. Well, yeah.
I would look to these guys to, if they knew of organizations that they could go to ask.
And I was directing at them as well.
Oh,
They're-
yeah.
No, it's everybody that's involved with this to try to mitigate this situation.
Trustees
So,
kind of thing.
it's in, yeah, just has that been part of the discussion from a flexibility to take off some of the harshness from our policies? Legal, fine, no argument, just harsh sometimes.
Financial assistance hasn't come up yet this evening, but we do have a sheet that we hand out to our customers with a list of several financial assistance options. This is unusual because it's a business. Usually we're dealing with residential customers, but I'm happy to share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the payment plan, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we're gonna be able to discuss or communicate this at this time. So if we could at least have an option that we could say yay or nay to, so, you know, they can be informed at some point in time in the late, you know, soon after this meeting, it would be nice to have an option and not have to tell you yes or no right now, and maybe do that, you know, once she understands.
Is this something that insurance will cover or not?
I am not under the impression insurance covers a utility bill, because the flooding we took care of. Our company took care of the landlord took care of that. As far as utility bill insurance, I've never been aware of such a thing, and maybe somebody else has. I just don't think that.
It's a rental of the house, correct?
It is a rental of a commercial space.
So if they're, I know with individuals, you buy renter's insurance. So I'm assuming that with businesses, there's also a business insurance that is a business rental insurance.
Yeah, well, this one would usually be a general liability
Okay, yeah.
insurance or personal injury or. Yeah, this.
Gotcha.
Could be,
It might be worth looking into.
I.
One never knows.
Yeah.
could be business loss.
Mhm.
Insurance that covers the business, there could be business loss insurance, like business continuity insurance, that sort of thing. I don't know whether the restaurant has that, but be something to talk about.
That's fair. It's fair. It's semi out there possible. I'm
You don't,
so
yeah.
highly doubting it. I just can't see myself going to an insurance company and trying to represent, you know, my tenant and say, I have a large utility bill that wasn't my fault, and them coming to the races. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be worth our time, effort, or energy. And it's just, I understand that is a possibility. I just, being in this business and knowing what insurance standards I have for them and what I saw before, I don't.
Yeah.
We're so far stretched at this point. So it was more just asking you guys if you would be able to help, and doesn't sound like that's on the table for somebody who's trying to make a living having an international business.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. So, there is a motion on the table. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'm sorry. So we are unable to help with that right now.
Okay, so the payment plan thing isn't.
No, that will happen. Yes.
Payment plan
Yes.
available to whatever works out.
And
And it's not
who
limited.
can, who will reach out to them? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
all's time.
Okay.
Just as a comment, with all of the new service coming in here in the next month, and possibly with our businesses who rent out to people. I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, is there a way that we can encourage these property rental companies to have all of their people to use the automated system and be signed up for that, and help put that responsibility on our business owners that are, I mean, obviously that's on each person's utility they're responsible for, but having more people help get this information out. You need to sign up for automatic bills and know when you're having a leak. I'm sorry that they were not, able to understand the notification. I appreciate that our people went out and told them, and I'm sorry that it took so long for action to happen. I hate that. Nobody feels good about that situation, but it's important to be consistent. So I think that was the right choice.
Portal. They don't always. It would be nice if there was a way to have all of that happen automatically, but our current systems our current systems don't allow it to do that. And I think it would be great to have everybody on the portal and on the Everbridge system as well, where if there's a main break in your neighborhood, you get a text message or a sewer overflow or lots of other things as well. So it would be nice if we could get everybody to sign up for all those things because they do help.
As he mentioned, with the international community, you may struggle to understand. Maybe if there could be, okay, we're going to go down 4th Street and knock on doors this afternoon and just hand deliver something else, maybe it would not be received as, I guess we're making that effort. I appreciate the effort that we're making on our sheet that we'll talk about later. I think we're doing a good job with social media outreach and things. So I feel like we're doing our best. Thanks.
And this is more for you, Amanda, is that what if we came up with some sort of a one-pager that, do you think landlords would put that in a welcome packet or something about how to sign up for all of these things? If we put a one-pager together.
For me, yes, but we are very communicative with our tenants. I think if you did it, it would be fantastic, just like we do the fog. I mean, I give that to my tenants. I give all of that. It's, anything that you can do for us, great.
Okay.
Not everybody's like me, so.
Okay.
So I think that's a great idea, and probably we need to move forward with that. But like Megan here said, the social media aspect as well, just different ways of getting this message out. Maybe, I don't know how we market it. I mean, the international aspect of this, the communication is difficult. So maybe there's a way to put posters up down 4th Street, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that we probably need to think outside the box to avoid this a little bit. I think a lot of businesses, landlords do their due diligence, but this one that slips through the cracks, we want to make sure that there's no chance that they are unaware.
Really important for residential because.
Well, it is. Yeah,
So all I would suggest is any communications that you develop include the fact that a lot of people have had their bills raised by thousands of dollars, and an appeal of that increase will not reduce it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think if people realize what they might lose by a leak and they don't detect it, maybe more would sign up.
Well, that sort of thing we can put in the information about how all this works, we can put together in a bill insert at some, but I was thinking we have done bill inserts about Everbridge and about the portal and so forth. That would seem to be the most direct way, but it doesn't always work. But I think the time to get them is when they're signing up for service. That's probably the most effective time to get people to do that. People don't assume they're never going to have a leak, and then they do. So.
Downside is usually a good form. I know with human resources at IU, we try to get people to check the beneficiaries on their retirement accounts, and still only 60% do. But what we emphasize is that if you don't have beneficiaries listed, we've had cases where the beneficiary listed was a former spouse, and the former spouse got all of the money because there's nothing you can do about it. So, telling them the downside is usually effective. So check your beneficiaries.
Would it be possible for me to turn this thing off? Because I'm having a very difficult time hearing people.
What is
I don't know
that?
about you, but it's like, I can't hear anybody today. Thank you. All right.
That noise, okay.
Okay. I'm like, I'm either losing my hearing or something is going on. One other follow-up question on this, and then I think we can move on. Do we know how many people in our customer base are signed up for this notification system? I don't know if we can even I mean, I know data is sometimes difficult to pull, but if we could find out, I'd be curious to know, is it 20% are signed up for notifications, 30%, 5%? If we can get that data. If we can't, I don't want us to spend a ton of time and money and figuring it out, because I would just be curious.
That portal is not handled by us, it's handled by the vendor. So I'm pretty certain that they would know how many people are signed up, and we can certainly ask them.
It would be interesting, because then we might be able to do some things around that marketing-wise to see what a goal might be to increase, maybe increasing something or going after a particular population or a particular area to, see if we can get that to work. So anyway, all right. So let's go back to the agenda. We're going to go back to the approval of the minutes from the July 3rd meeting. Are there any questions or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The next items are our approval of our claims. The first are the standard invoices in the amount of $460,149.91. Are there any questions on the standard invoices? I have two questions. Page 3. I know this question came up at our last meeting with all the concrete. There's several on here that the concrete's, it's listed what it's for, and then there's several on here that it's not listed what it's for. It's just kind of a curious for consistency.
There's an actual reason for that, but we can
Okay.
do a better job of
I
being
know
more
we had
consistent.
a lot of questions about it
Yeah,
last week,
yeah.
last time, so,
And by the way, the one last time was the work behind the Von Lee. We did confirm that.
yes, that did get confirmed, thank you. And then my other question is, the panel screens that are being done here, is that just random drug testing? Or is that, my question about this is it COVID testing? Are we seeing an uptick in individuals getting COVID?
And people getting
Okay.
COVID.
Yeah,
And-
good.
and our-
Okay.
And the numbers from the wastewater plants continue to be very low.
Okay, good. So this is just other panels, random panel screening? Okay,
We'll find out.
okay.
Just screens that, actually physical screens that go in. I think that's what that is, actually, but we'll confirm it.
No, it's IU
Oh,
Health
IU
panel
Health.
screens. I took that as. You know
What?
what it is? Okay.
Okay.
It says for T&D employees, so it's.
James is taking a call. I can answer this for him. I think he would know. Catherine Zager, Environmental. I think those are drug panel screens for new CDL
Okay.
employees.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious.
It's required by law, yeah.
No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that was the drug testing screening, the random testing, or if it was COVID testing because we were seeing COVID cases occurring. So those were my two questions. Were there any other questions? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item are the utility bills in the amount of $132,952.21. Are there any questions on the utility bills? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve or a motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next are wire transfers in the amount of $551,670.44. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And finally, we have customer refunds in the amount of $4,150.61. Are there any questions on the customer refunds? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, and that is Vic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to bring tonight's consent agenda, which totals $29,058.44. The first item is to Cummins Sales and Service, $4,035.14 to repair a fuel leak on the intake generator. That's the generator at the water intake. The second is to Suez for $5,000.
I think these are different numbers.
Am I looking at last time? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm like, are these different?
But I was happy to be doing it. Oh, I see. Oh, no, I don't see. Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong packet. Okay. Let's try this one. The consent agenda totals $34,290. The first is to Wessler Engineering, $7,700 for the SCADA Asset Management Plan. The second is to BL Anderson, $3,690 for flow meter calibrations. The third is to American Trucking, $22,000 for asphalt paving and repairs. And the last is to Dotlick Incorporated, $900. This is for the crane for the lift station generator removal and replacement. Would anyone like to take any of these up separately? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, the consent agenda will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. The next item is a request for approval of Resolution 2023-11, the designate surplus property, and that's Matt Havey.
Like to get rid of. We have two sheets this time. One is for our building here. We went through some old cabinets and found some miscellaneous office supplies, lots of old pagers, like the beepers, and a CB radio that we don't feel like we need anymore. We also found a couple boxes, or small boxes of cell phones that were no longer in use and are no longer usable by us because they're so old. There's some Samsung flip phones and a box of iPhones and some random iPhone accessories. Then there was a couple handheld digital cameras, the old ones that you did this with. And then just some random monitors and a monitor stand and a keyboard that I'm not even sure works. So. And then the second page is items from Butcher Pool. They're trying to clean up the yard. The 60-gallon vinyl resin. There's two of those on there. They used to use those to mix polymer. They no longer do that. There's 60 55-gallon barrels there that we received chemicals in that have been cleaned several times, have been tested, and they're good and they're clean. So we want to get rid of those. The diffusers and the feed pump are actual parts of the plant that were replaced, and the old one never was disposed of. And then the Quincy air compressor is just an old standalone air compressor that has been in the same spot for a long time and nobody uses.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have Jane Fleeg, and she has a request for an approval of the change order number 2 for the culvert reconstruction project.
Yes, this is for the Jordan River Culvert project that was completed last year primarily. They were working on some punch items this year. This is a final change order. This is to close out the project. It's a net increase of $44,650.10, and that is for a portion of additional rock excavation that was required. A good portion of this, $112,200 and some, is paid by an allowance that we had. As we went through the project, we had add-ons and deductions And we were able to pay for most things through that process. But this is the final thing, adds to the contract amount. The final contract amount would be $13,235, $317.46. So, okay. Okay, 13 million.
There we go.
$235,317.46. Thank you.
Any questions for Jane? No. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Jane. And last, we've got Catherine Zager with a request for the approval of agreement with Indiana Brownsfields Program. Is that correct?
Hi, Catherine Zager, Environmental. This is for a site access agreement with the Indiana Brownfields Program for anyone from IFA or their selected consultant. We're applying for a Phase 1 assessment to be funded through the IFA for the Waterman detention sites. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with these sites. But we recently discovered that they are adjacent to other brownfield sites, and we have some reason to suspect that there is a chance that they would be contaminated, so we want to do our due diligence and have a Phase 1 assessment done.
Can you tell, what is a Brownsfield site? Or what is a Brownsfield program? I don't know that I've heard this before.
So, okay. So this is basically for sites that either have contamination or are suspected of contamination. If the site is in some way has a history that could have led for it to be contaminated, either having underground storage tanks, above ground storage tanks, the processing of hazardous materials happened on this land. The Brownfields program basically helps assist different groups of entities to redevelop these areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
What type of cost could be associated with this for CVU since it's city-owned property?
So for the assessment, we're hoping to have that entirely funded by the IFA. There may...
For the site assessment portion of this.
Yeah, this is in order to apply for a grant for the assessment.
If it ended up having to be remediated, it would depend on who the entity was that owns the property. And I think the property that we're most concerned about is...
So the property that we're most concerned about, I believe, is the one that is owned by Public Works. But it's a little complicated because there are 3 separate parcels that the project is on. One is owned by us, one is the Redevelopment Commission, and one is the Board of Public Works.
These are on West 7th, like past Adams Street?
So these are on the...
Okay.
Oh, there's a map.
This is the map.
That's the map, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I see. Okay.
So, and actually I was gonna ask, so on that, so site, what's number 1?
If you look on the staff, I'm sorry, I'm Chris Wheeler with.
City Legal, if you look on the staff memo, it shows 1, 2, and 3 as the different properties. One is owned by,
I see it now.
and so on the
Okay.
map, they correlate.
Now it makes
So when you look at 1,
sense.
2, and 3,
Sorry, I
those
don't
are the
have the
properties
map
that
in
are
front
owned.
of me.
But what is on those properties? Nothing?
Nothing.
Remnant parcels.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Chris.
Are there any other questions?
Was impacted by industrial activity that went on the site, on the parcel. The one that we're concerned about is adjacent to the one that had industrial
Yeah.
activity. So we're doing due diligence here to make sure that we don't build a neighborhood detention facility in a contaminated parcel.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, James Hall with a request for approval of agreement with Cummins. Oh, not James Hall, Chris Wheeler.
James Hall couldn't be with us this evening. I saw him a little while ago. He had to step out. I'm guessing something came up. But I'll pinch hit for James. Chris Wheeler, City Legal, and this contract is with Cummins. It's for, if I can scroll down, this is just going to be a general annual maintenance agreement with Cummins for all of the lift stations, booster stations, and plants. The total amount of the not to exceed is $61,418. And I'm happy to try and answer any particular questions that the board may have.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, old business from the board. Do we have old business from the board? Old business from staff. New business from the board. New business from staff. Subcommittee reports. Okay, so we do have a subcommittee report from the administrative subcommittee. We met prior to this meeting. Our primary reason for meeting was to go over the effective utilities management assessment, which is going to be taking place that we've talked about at the last board meeting. And Holly was kind enough to give us a little exercise for the board members to do. And Kirk, we will have one for you to do. If you don't mind filling it out, we would really appreciate it. And we will have one emailed to Jeff since he's not able to attend the meeting. Really oh, yeah, that's true. Could we also make sure that we have ones for Scott and Jim? It's just, we did a self-assessment. Jim, you probably remember we did something similar when, oh gosh, pre-pandemic, when we met over at the Showers building, we're at the mill. We're at the mill. There's a little assessment exercise that they're asking us to do, asking us 3 questions or 2 questions about CBU, and then there's a ranking thing that they've asked us to do. Holly.
Oh, the staff here.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And all staff members are doing this, and we've been asked by the board to also participate in it. So we're right now in the self-assessment phase of this assessment. The next step is to have the strategic plan drawn up, and Holly will be sharing that with us and getting the board on board with the strategic planning process. Is there anything I missed, Holly, or that you would like to share? Right. Okay. There weren't any other subcommittees, I don't think, so.
Action required from the subcommittee on that one.
Nope. Staff reports.
Reports. I'd like to begin with Phil Peden. Where are you, Phil?
Good evening, Phil Peden, Engineering. If I could give my 2 cents first of the folks that came in tonight, I did want to mention that if you have sump pumps that are connected to the sanitary sewer, that is a city code violation, and those should discharge to the surface. If they was discharging to the surface, we would have likely seen that on the street, all that flow from the water that was in the basement. Therefore, that would have been more noticeable than maybe even the door tag. So just wanted to note that. We're trying to eliminate those sump pump connections that are improperly connected, and just learned of one tonight, so that was interesting for me. I wanted to share. But know that we have some exciting news in the engineering department, and Jane and I are probably the most excited, but we have a new member of our team, Caden Swanson. I want to introduce him tonight, and he is from, he received his degree from Wisconsin-Platteville, and so he's joined our team. He has an environmental engineering background. So welcome, Caden.
Item I have is we got a grant. We've been awarded a grant from the Indiana Finance Authority for $90,100. Is that right? That's the right number, correct? This will pay for some GPS sensing equipment and for a device called a swordfish, which can be used. It basically can be used to do in situ identification of lead service lines. So you can insert it into the pipe and it can tell if the pipe is a lead pipe or not. So this will help a lot with lead service line identification going forward, and could save us a lot of money for excavation and whatnot as we go through the multiple years ahead of us to do with lead service line. So we're really excited about that. As we mentioned during the subcommittee report, there will be a strategic planning session with the board in August, and Holly will put together a list of possible times and share it with board members, and we'll choose a time from that. What's coming next is 2 weeks from tonight at the board meeting. We're planning the finance subcommittee meeting. It's currently scheduled for 4 p.m. We expect to have with us the financial analysis for the Winston Thomas project. We finally did get the appraisals, so we'll have that to present to the board, or to the subcommittee and the board. So we'll have that report and also our 2024 budget presentation as well. I think we can do them both in an hour, but if you want to make it an hour and 15 minutes or something like that, we could do that. Of course, if it runs long, it could also run into the board meeting, and we could begin the board meeting afterwards. So I'll leave that up to you and Chris to tell us what the best way to do it is. But we'll have both of those the next time. We have finished the second review of the budget memo with the mayor's office. We've got a couple of small tweaks, and we will share it with the board prior to, we'll give it to you at the end of this week so that you can have a week to look it over before the finance subcommittee meets. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And just on that note too, with the finance subcommittee, a reminder to all the board members, if you can attend that one, even if you are not on that subcommittee, it does help expedite the regular meeting. We encourage you, if you can, to come to that, and if you can't, at least perhaps get questions addressed once the budget memo comes out. So, okay. Any other questions? Anything else? All right, are there any other petitions or communications? No. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.